As a kid, I always liked to go run around in the woods, climb trees, and things like that.
I'd have to say that from a young age, I've always had a fascination with nature. I didn't have the affluation that others did that allowed me to enjoy nature.
As a child, I like to go catch frogs and find different insects and just like explore in the backwoods.
When I was little, my relationship with nature consisted of a lot of camping with my family. I was definitely the more outdoorsy of the siblings. My sister hated nature and wanted no part of it, and I was the more adventurous of the two of us.
My relationship with nature probably started when I went to camp.
Now I try and have my little brother go in sometimes, because it's always good to have, connections.
Within the last couple of years, I've changed my views significantly. I no longer take the life of animals to gain sustenance.
Now, this is actually shaping me because I want to go into a career involving the environment and do something to help sustain the resources that we have.
Now, as an adult, I feel a lot of pressure to provide that same experience for my children. I want them to appreciate nature. I want them to have experiences with it. So we do a lot of simple things. We go on a lot of hikes. We spend a lot of time outside. And I am determined to have children that don't even know what video games are until they are much older.
For me now, trees and being in the woods, to me, it restores me.
I've always grown up with a strong sense of a connection with nature. All of my houses growing up have been right near or in a forest themselves. My parents, being the peace-love hippies that they are, have always had a strong love of nature. They kind of instilled that in me. So growing up, we would go and adventure through the woods. We would go and learn about how nature is so important and why we should preserve it. So, I kind of grew up as a little bit of a tree hugger. All the happy memories of us being in nature, going on picnics, just exploring the woods, kind of brings me the sense of inner peace. And it has throughout my entire childhood.
Nature has always been kind of a big part of all my happy memories, whether it was exploring in the woods or going on picnics with my friends to this day. I've always loved being outside in nature, even in the smallest of ways. I do so much on any given day. Anywhere from school, choir functions, swim practice, winter guard performances, work, anything in between. I kind of don't have time to just go and casually enjoy nature, which has kind of caused me to lose touch with nature. But it always came back to me in some weird form, whether it be my sister forcing me to go and trek through the woods or going and having a little random photo shoot with one of my best friends. It doesn't really matter, but I've always been able to go back. Even as I've realized my love for the city, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I don't necessarily have to lose all that nature. People think that living in cities is gross and dirty and the exact opposite of living in nature, and I'll never see a tree until I come back home, which I think is completely ridiculous. At our recent trip to New York City, we went and explored Central Park, and it's just this little getaway right smack dab in the middle of the city. One minute you're being harassed by street vendors and seeing all these huge buildings. You walk into this little piece of heaven, and it's silence and birds chirping and people relaxing, and it's just such a calming environment, right overshadowed by buildings. Even as you go through the city, there's trees planted everywhere. There are random dog parks you'll pass. There's the docks, since it's on an island, and there's just beauty of nature just all over, and it would surprise you. I've come to the conclusion that even if I don't live in a woodsy cabin in the middle of nowhere, I don't have to lose touch with nature. So whether it be my home or the city or any road in between, I'll always have a deep relationship with nature.